Hey all, welcome to beautiful sunny San Diego and welcome to one of the most important cars you'll see on YouTube this year. This is a Toyota and this is an all-electric Toyota. Not the first all-electric Toyota sold here in the US, but arguably the most important because what you're looking at is the Toyota bZ4x. That's right, their first ever ground up fully electric car. And in this video, we're going to talk about it. We're going to show you all the cool gadgets and gizmos, talk about the design, the interior, some of the neat features, and talk about should you consider buying the Toyota bZ4x over something like a Tesla Model Y or a Volkswagen ID4 or a Ford Mustang Mach-E. So what is the bZ4x? Well, first of all, it's a very questionable name. Honestly, I think it sounds like a computer CAPTCHA code. Something you might receive if you forgot, I don't know, the password to your Facebook account and they send you bZ4x, but that is the route they have gone with, and bZ is going to be a full line of Toyotas coming up here in the near future. Now, for those of you really in the know, you might be saying to yourself, this looks eerily familiar, and you are correct, because there's a model called the Subaru Solterra, which was co-developed alongside the bZ4x. So Toyota and Subaru came together on this platform to develop this fully electric car. And much like the Toyota 86 and the Subaru BRZ, they are super close siblings. You would be hard pressed to tell a bZ4x and a Solterra from just a quick glance. Now there are some differences. So for example, on the Subaru, this mismatched panel is going to be kind of like a flat black, but on the Toyota it's more of a glossy finish. We also have a different headlight design on the Toyota, but apart from that, from an exterior design standpoint, the overall finish of the vehicle, the overall design, and the proportions are identical. And what do you think of the design? I'm a little bit on the fence about it. I think it looks better in person than it does in pictures. Now it is of course a crossover SUV styled profile. It does have a fairly high ride height compared to like a hatchback. It's similar in size just from looking at it to something like a Toyota RAV4, but very, very angular. So in the front, you'll notice it's got an almost vertical nose with a slight cam back design to it. No prominent grille needed because of course it is a full electric car, although we do have some cooling capability down there below the license plate mount. And this is one area I'm not super sold on. Maybe the full production model will be a little bit different, but the location of the front license plate, obviously they painted this one white for all the media images. I'm not super sure that looks all that fantastic in relation to the front end of the vehicle, but let me know in the comment section below. Now we do have these little kind of white panels located on top of the headlight, which matches the white finish across the hood, and I do really like the contrasting black on the cowl portion of the hood. I think that does look really, really quite nice. Some kind of satin chrome finish down there along the front of the vehicle, and then we've got these air scarves that direct air around the front tire on both corners of the front end. Now as we move along to the side, you can see these contrasting panels. Let me know what you think of that in the comment section below. I think that's probably going to be pretty controversial. The overall wheel design looks really, really nice. This one is more of a higher end model compared to some of the base end trims. Of course, rolling on a set of Bridgestone tires here. Along the side, a flat black finish along the apron there, and then we see more of that contrasting dark gray on white as we come along the back. Slight spoiler up here on the rear portion of the vehicle with a fairly slanted rear end, I assume for aerodynamics, with another spoiler down here at the base. And then as we move along to the back, you'll see a long continuous horizontal light bar that connects the left and the right side of the vehicle. And one of the more interesting design aspects are kind of these louvers in the tail light, which are super unique, almost very retro and 1980s, but I like them. And then kind of unusual for a crossover, we do have a very aggressive lower rear end, of course no exhaust treatment, and then even some finning down there for the rear splitter, all in the pursuit of the ultimate aerodynamics. Now the charge port location is on the left front fender. Push in to access the charge port, and here we see the capabilities. So we have level 1 and level 2 charging through 120 and 240 volts, and then CCS fast charging. Now we're still missing a lot of specs in relation to the bZ4x about charging speeds and overall range. Now Toyota is saying that They are predicting front-wheel drive models to go 250 miles on a single charge, but that's not the full story, because there is not only a front-wheel drive, but an all-wheel drive model coming here to the United States. So let's go ahead and pop the hood and see what we're looking at. Now, interestingly, unlike some of its competition from vehicles like Tesla and Ford, there is no front trunk. So when you pop the hood of the bZ4X, you see the 12-volt battery, you see a bunch of these high voltage connections, right, that carry electricity to the various components, but you will not find a front trunk, which is interesting. Now, if you get the two-wheel drive model, it's going to be front-wheel drive. If you get the all-wheel drive model, it's a dual motor setup with a motor in the front, a motor in the back. Power rating, they're saying about 150 kilowatts on the front-wheel drive model, so just over 200 horsepower, and then 160 kilowatts on the all-wheel drive model through two 80 kilowatt electric motors. So what's that, 215 horsepower. So not an extremely powerful vehicle. Don't have any numbers on 0 to 60 times, but we do have the weight. So the front-wheel drive vehicle is right around 4,200 pounds. When you step up to all-wheel drive, that jumps up to about 4,400 pounds. Now, 250 miles on a single charge is competitive with cars like the Volkswagen ID4, the Ford Mustang Mach-E. It is pretty far off, though, a model like the Tesla, right, the Model Y, even the dual motor long range, you're going to be in territories over 300 miles of range. And then charging speeds, no official word from Toyota yet, but we do know some specs on the Japanese model, and from the research I've done, it should be somewhere around 150 kilowatts. Let's go ahead and take a look at the interior of the bZ4X, and the first thing you notice, the steering wheel. Now, the concept version of this car had a yoke similar to, I don't know, another vehicle manufacturer that perhaps specializes in electric cars, and I am unbelievably overjoyed that they have stuck with a steering wheel. That is fantastic. Steering wheels are just better than yokes, and especially when it comes to operating and driving a car, this is the way to do it. But look at the dashboard design. Lots going on here. We've got multiple layers, we've got some interesting binnacles and some clusters, and let's start out with the instrument cluster, which is really cool. It's got kind of this interesting flowy design that's supposed to divert your gaze from the steering wheel, through the steering wheel, down this panel, into the fully digital instrument cluster. Let's go ahead and start it up. Foot on the brake, power button located here next to the vents. It's probably going to give us some warnings here because this is an extremely early pre-production vehicle, but it will also give us a look at the instrument cluster as well as the main central display. Now, I really do think that Toyota has knocked this interior out of the park. Lots going on here, lots to dissect, starting with this fabric across the dashboard. Feels really nice. It's not just like a conventional piece of black plastic. They've gone with something a little bit different. SRS airbag warning there. And then we've got a second level to the windshield. And speaking of the windshield, great visibility out of this vehicle. Super easy to see all 360 degrees, especially with these little corner windows. Easy to see the corners. Really do appreciate that aspect of the car. Now, from a button standpoint, lots of buttons on the steering wheel. Feels like the Enterprise here in some ways. We've got volume toggles, we've got controls here on the left, phone controls here, adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, the different, for example, speech detection modes all over here. So tons going on the steering wheel. But then when we actually look at the instrument cluster itself, lots of kind of digital control. So most of these are not hard buttons. So if we look at like the ventilated seats or the heated heated steering wheel, or the climate modes here, these are all kind of soft buttons. And what I mean by that, like kind of like touching a screen. We do have manual controls for both the temperature and the fan speed, which I really appreciate. And then, not super happy about this, no volume knob, although we do have volume buttons there across the center of the dash. Now, this latest generation of Toyota screen is so much better than the previous generation. It's big, it's blocky, it's easy to use. The layout is super just fundamentally simple. I like the shortcuts on the left side of the screen, and I think you're going to find that this is a very usable screen. Now, below this whole system, we also have our climate vents next to the power button. This is our little selector for the drive, reverse neutral drive. We do have a parking brake here, as well as a push for park. Different modes here, eco, snow, and then the camera view. Check this out. Click the view button. Gives you a full 360-degree panorama of what you are parked near. Kind of a cool thing. Now, lots of piano black here, which gets fingerprinted quite easily. Not super huge on this, but look at this panel. Lift that open, and you get to the wireless charging tray. But if you look closely, it's actually transparent. How interesting is that? Very, very, very funky. Now, behind that, we've got a dual cup holders with some additional storage. And when you lift up, let's see what that storage cubby looks like. Pretty sizable, with a false floor in there as well. Very cool stuff. Now, the seats feel supportive, very comfortable. This one, of course, is wrapped in this leather-like material with the contrasting white stitching across the middle there. And then, if we look up top here, we've got dual sunroofs. Very nice. All right, let's check out the rear seat. Now, let me get the seat in my driving position. Of course, this one does have a power-actuated seat. And let's see what the rear seat space is like. So, this is where I sit at 6 feet tall. Oh, excellent. Lots and lots of space remaining. In the middle here, USB-C ports with, in this case, heated rear seats, some climate vents down there. A little bit more piano black on the doors, but look at that. Look at the headroom. It's adequate. It's not incredible, but it is adequate. And then for the trunk, quick look at the trunk now. Sloping roofline, of course, but let's see what the power liftgate works like on the Limited. Quite simple. Now, this is early production. Ignore all the stuff back here. Seats do fold down at the push of a button. 5 seating capability, of course, in this vehicle. And overall, very impressed with the trunk space. So, the Subaru Solterra, the Toyota bZ4X, largely the same vehicle, but which one would you rather have? I do like kind of the glossy material on the Toyota over the Subaru. We still don't know charge speeds, we still don't know charge times or performance data, but this could be a good alternative if you are looking at a fully electric BEV from a more mainstream automaker. Definitely consider the Toyota bZ4X. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on another episode of The Fast Lane Car and The Fast Lane Now. Your quick first look at the first ever ground-up electric Toyota. Leave me a comment in the section below. What were the first 2 non-ground-up electrics that Toyota built? If you do that, they'll be impressed. I don't know. There's no prize, but let me know.